Moving on to a story that is coming by the way of India's growing prowess, growth story and its trajectory. India is likely to be the fifth or the third largest economy rather by turn of the decade, which is 2030. This according to S&P Global.
Absolutely. But the news is that there is no new news on this, right? So great. I mean, you have one more global player sort of, being bullish on India, putting its stamp of attestation that, hey, we are in sync with the India growth story and we are pinning our hopes on India to be the third largest economy by turn of the decade. No surprise there. But I think in the same breath, what is also emerging is the fact that India is also going to be the second largest Asian economy. But again, no surprise there because China leads India by miles when it comes to overall size of the economy, the GDP. So if we can have those numbers, I think as of 2022, the US economy stood at a solid $25.5 trillion. The next in that league is China. China at about $18 trillion worth of the size of the economy. A distant third happens to be Japan at 4.2 trillion, followed by Germany at 4 trillion and India at 3.5. Okay. So, I think the battle between these, the rank 3, 4 and 5 is fairly tight, and given India's growth rate at a time when Japan is facing the challenge of demographics sort of, not in favor of the economy and an aging population, and at a time when Germany, already the first European country to formally go into recession, is unlikely to come out of that deflation anytime soon, and likely to not really grow at the numbers that Europe had grown 2 decades, 3 decades earlier. I think India hopping on to the third spot is no big deal.
It's the obvious.
My only worry is it's fairly obvious, and S&P is also saying that 7.3 to 7.6% growth rate is what is going to see India through by 2030. Now, India will become a $5 trillion economy, the big number that everybody talks about, that 5 trillion. Honestly, no big deal about 5 trillion. When you look at 5 trillion in the context of China already at 18 trillion and US at 25.5 trillion, I think even 5 trillion or by 2030 reaching up to 7.5 trillion, which is double the size of the economy that we are at right now, still keeps the gap between US, China and India fairly high. So I think while it's great to be bullish on India, I think what we need to really understand and realize is that even a 7.3, 7.6% growth rate is not going to be enough. You may be the third largest. It's a great feat that you're the top 3 most powerful, biggest economies. But the distance between US, China and India is still going to be large. And let's not discount the fact that US will also continue to grow in this period. So even at 3%, less than half of what India is growing at, US will continue to grow. China's own estimate suggests that China will also grow at about 5%. So India growing at, RBI suggested 6.5%, S&P suggesting 6.2, 6.3% right now, but medium to long term 7.3, 7.6% is still not going to take us anywhere close to US and China.
Absolutely. So the gap between the second largest, third largest will continue to widen, albeit another major global ratings agency bullish on India, projecting India to be the third largest economy by 2030.